companion, Elder Huntsman, and Doofus over here, Elder Austin. Nice to meet you. This is Popeye Noel. Obrigado, Popeye. Here we are at a display here in Baja Shopping, one of the most modern malls in Brazil. Brazil is very hot in the winter. It's summertime here, and it's probably a little different from where you are there. We're getting sunpans here, and I hope you're freezing to death there. Okay, now let's take a look at the scene here. This is France. You see France. I'd like to read some of my stories for you that I've written here on my mission. Let's read one now. As time passed rapidly along for Brad, he thought back to days of youth, days of frivolity, days where trial and error dominated. Brad came from a generous family, strong and united. His parents loved him dearly throughout his life, gave him all that they possessed accordingly. Brad was carried to a special family, to drop a special blessing in their hands. As he sat, pondering upon the past, his thoughts passed upon a rare experience that he had had at the age of a child in 4th grade. His thoughts carried him to that time. He remembered being seated in a classroom, the teacher rambling on and on, reviewing the names of the presidents of the United States, presidents of the past, with the attending pupils. Now to a 4th grade student of his capacity, the given names of the past governors of the nation held minimal importance. He thought in that day of dreams of being a great Superman, a dream that he held throughout his life. He glanced out of the classroom window that day and saw a bird land upon a tree branch. Just then, he was startled by the calling of his name by the presiding teacher. He turned his attention thusward and beheld his dad, wearing his favorite black and red checkered hunting shirt and cowboy hat. A funny sight this particular time of day and at that particular setting. He was standing at the door. Bradley, he finally came to reality, responding, "What?" in a voice purposely barely audible. "Come here," the teacher said, motioning him onward. Brad responded to the call, thinking he had a punishment coming. Walked head down to the classroom door where stood the teacher and his father. "Let's go," were the first words his dad said, and motioned to the school exit. "Where are we going?" Brad asked as he started out with his father's arm around him. "Never mind that," his father answered, looking back at the teacher. Once they had left the school grounds, his dad's 4-wheel drive, Brad questioned again, "Where are we going?" "Where do you want to go?" was the response from his dad. Now 1,000 things will run through the mind of a 4th grader when he is given the opportunity to think. Hunting was the response Brad came up with. Somehow his dad knew that that would be Brad's response, because they were already headed toward the mountains, guns and ammunition supplied. His dad took him hunting that fine bright day, hunting for rock chucks. Now Brad didn't see a rock chuck the whole day, nor did he know what one looked like. But he didn't say anything. He just smiled. That was the most memorable day of Brad's childhood. Here we are at the church where we live now, Jacarepaguá. And now we're going to show you some exotic fruits that they don't have there in the United States. My companion will go through these fruits and tell you their names. Elder Huntsman.
What should we start with here? Coconut?
See?
Nobody knows what a coconut is yet.
Coconut.
It's called cocoa in Portuguese. A little juice here.
Coconut milk.
It's clear. Good stuff.
It's good.
The pig here. Look at all. Oh, it's on What else do we have? Doctor, what should we take next? Melon?
Cinnamon or melon.
Tastes like busy here. What are these things?
Okay.
Abacaxi. Avocado.
Avocado. It's green on the inside.
Yeah.
What's this rock?
It's not ripe yet. Or else it'd be easy to cut. He likes it. I want to eat that. You want to know style?
Do you eat this?
No, that's the seed. You don't eat that.
Can we grow another one?
Yeah, we can go another one. We'll grow another one.
You know, just plant one of them springs.
I don't think the melon is ripe either.
You want to taste it?
You don't like it. It's green.
So good.
Terrible.
Is it cane parched?
No, not verde, it's horrible.
Yeah, bomb.
Bomb.
Bom nada.
Let's cut this thing.
That is cashew, or caju in Portuguese.
It's got a cashew nut on top, and they make juice from the fruit.
Good stuff. Even though I've never tasted it before.
It stinks.
Ew.
That's bad.
This we provide. And well,
And we don't.
ooh, dry. I'm dry. How about that? This is the mamon. That's good stuff.
Manga.
Oh, manga. Same thing.
This
Manga.
one's not right. This one's right.
There you go.
There's another ripe one. That's been smashed. Mango's another fruit they don't have in the States. You know that. We got it. We got it. Bon.
This is good.
There's a carrot taste to it. Kind of sweet, real sweet.
Tastes like a sweetie carrot.
Good stuff.
It's got a big pit.
Show them the big pit.
Just a second, let me eat this real fast.
Oh, did I say the pig?
Anyways. That part there is.
That's the pit.
Okay.
What's this?
That is a goyaba.
This is a guayaba.
It's terrible tasting.
Oh.
They make sweet stuff out of it.
Brother Austin, come over here.
Show in the middle of that. That's good stuff. It's
All right.
good looking in the middle.
Oh, it's very tasty too.
Oh, it's
Heat part of it.
Looks like a tomato inside.
Very good. Very,
No way.
very tasty.
It smells as bad as it tastes.
I don't want to taste it.
Me neither. So it goes to
Yeah,
It's bon. Maybe this one's better.
lied.
this is a good
Where's the manga?
Tastes like sagebrush.
yeah.
It does.
What else we got here? What was he?
That's a vegetable. I don't know if it's any good.
This is a vegetable, the only vegetable we have upon this table.
Acho que Deus vai criar esse filme.
What does it look like? It looks like a cucumber inside there.
Esse médio
It tastes like.
Tastes like a cucumber and vinegar.
Tem que cozinhar isso aí, rapaz.
It does. Yeah? That's good stuff.
É mesmo?
We just got it because it looks ugly. What else we got here? What else we got?
Let me try it.
Maracuja?
It's all seeds.
We already had that, didn't we?
No, maracuja.
Oh.
That's all water, so just take.
It's all water?
Yeah, it's gonna spill. Why don't you just poke her in the middle?
Yeah, poke it a hole in it.
It's not water. I lied.
Completely.
Huh?
Isso aí para comer tem que fazer o seguinte, tem que cortar no meio e comer a semente.
Sim?
Sim.
That's the expert talking kind of thing.
I tell them to do and know what to do.
That's right. I don't know what we're doing.
It's really pretty. It's like
Get a close up on that.
fica muito perto. O mais perto possível.
Well, we'll save that for later.
Makes a good juice, real good juice.
Yeah, sure. What else we got?
We haven't shown them the mamão.
Mamão. This is a mamão.
Good
Yes.
stuff. I think it's a papaya in English.
Papaya.
Just don't get my finger with that.
Okay.
No. Them seeds. Show them the middle. Got black seeds inside.
Look like fish eggs.
Tastes like it too.
Oh, and you can see
Here.
he's got one ready prepared here.
It's one of the better fruits.
Oh, that's good. Very tropical.
Tô ficando cansado.
Nada. I made it.
What's their seed?
Okay.
Well, now we go for the big one.
What's talking?
Real duck.
I want to see.
Real duck. Let's make some room here.
This is a.
Close.
This is a jaca. Looks like a big beehive.
It's a big beehive chunka.
I need another knife.
This is probably the biggest fruit in the world that you're viewing here.
I don't know. That guy lived in the office last week.
What's the bigger fruit?
Oh, that's like wonderful. None of us have ever tried this before, so it'll be interesting.
None of us don't think we're going to try anything either. Need a chainsaw.
Oh,
There we go.
Oh, is that lovely looking?
Yep.
Isn't that pretty? Pretty.
Close.
it's really sticky, so watch out.
You want to do this? Here you go.
Ah, look at
Good
that.
stuff.
Oi! Here I am at our piscina. Eating the last of our fruit. It didn't take long to get through the fruit. But I'd like to read to you one more story here. Or another story. This is about an experience we had at the airport. You might have some memories during this. I don't know how exactly true these stories are, but I try my best to scratch my memory. Why is everyone crying? Brad asked Julie that early morning at the Salt Lake airport. Julie, in her last year of high school, in all her wisdom and in tears, answered, "I don't know." His brother was leaving on a 2-year mission. It should be a time of cheering, Brad said to his sister Julie. She was too caught up in the ensuing conversation between his brother David and the family to answer Brad. Brad felt left out and only smiled when someone mentioned his name, saying something about him being next. Brad wanted candy, and he knew that an airport had snack bars. A few pulls on his mother's purse, and he would have the attention he needed. Brad and his mother walked down the terminal, following the cup and hamburger illustrations. His mother was wiping away tears as she walked. They came to the snack bar and bought a Mars bar. 2, Brad ordered, thinking of his brother. There were some snack bar employees grouped up, talking behind the counter. They were looking at Brad. No one. He reconsidered, thinking that they were going to steal one from him. Suddenly, Brad saw a man at the side of him. He had been standing there for some time. "We need your help," the man said, looking at Brad, and then at the group behind the counter. Brad looked at his mother questioningly. She asked, "What for?" The man pointed to a woman behind the counter saying, My wife has locked her purse inside of the office. We don't have a key. There is a window slightly open. I think your son could fit through it. Sure, Brad says, sensing adventure, running behind the counter into the office window that they were motioning him to. Brad barely fit through the window, sucking in his stomach as he went. However, he couldn't find the purse. Finally, after much searching and much hand charades from the snack bar staff, many hand charades from the snack bar staff, he found it and handed it through the window. The man fished through the purse and brought out a key. He then opened the office door and let Brad out. "Thank you," the man said, holding out his hand. Brad shook his hand and, pulling back, felt a dollar bill in it. It was a $20 bill. Brad suddenly became bug-eyed when he saw it. Suddenly, the Mars bars filled his brain. As he walked down the back of the counter, other employees handed him more money, change and bills. It was great. But his mother was in a hurry to get back to his brother. So Brad thanked them all and left with his mother. When they got back to the gate, everybody was standing. It was almost time. Brad's brother hugged and kissed everybody with tears in his eyes. He stopped his rounds to talk to his grandma and grandpa, scratching his missionary haircut as he laughed. He then hugged and kissed Brad. "Bye," Brad said, wiping the kiss from his cheek, and watching his brother walk up the stairs to the airplane. It was a silent trip home that day as everybody sat looking out the car windows. Everyone except Brad. He was dreaming of being a missionary as he lied on his mother's lap.
But it also says that, well, he's got to have a father, or else he can't exist. He can't. Let's not go this door.
Boa tarde.
Boa tarde. O que vocês desejam?
Nós somos missionários da Igreja de Jesus Cristo. Nós temos uma mensagem para vocês.
Ah, mas eu não estou disposta a ouvir, não. Porque eu estou muito ocupada na cozinha.
É só 15 minutos.
Mas mesmo assim eu não posso, não.
Mas é sobre...
Ah, tanta igreja, eu já estou cansada de ouvir religiões, é tanta igreja.
É bom, nossa mensagem é ter essa igreja.
Não quero, não. Já que vocês estão insistindo, eu vou chamar meu marido, ele se entende com vocês, tá?
Tá bom.
Quer fazer um favor aqui, tia? Meu marido vai falar com vocês, tá? Tchau.
Obrigado.
Boa tarde. Boa tarde. Eu já conheço esse chato desse missionário.
Eu drivers.
Como vai? Tudo bem?
Chato.
Que podemos servi-los?
Hã?
Que podemos servi-los? O que você deseja da gente?
Ah, nós somos missionários da Igreja de Jesus Cristo.
Mas eu de lá de dentro já ouvi a minha mulher dizer que não interessa. Nós não estamos interessados na religião. Vocês não entenderam?
Nós temos uma mensagem sobre Jesus.
Sim, mas ela já falou que não interessa. Vocês não entendem português? Então vão entender inglês. Do you speak English?
Yes. Say yes.
Então, atenta para isso aí. Vocês são brown noser, são bonehead e obnoxious. Do you understand now?
Sim.
Go ahead to the United States to speak with your son, not to me, my dear. Well,
Obrigado. It's the same street, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been here. Like this. So we're knocked before?
We knocked here before.
You want to knock it again?
Let's tour.
All right. I'm behind you.
Be careful.
This guy's mean.
Go. Boa tarde.
boa tarde.
Tudo bem?
Tudo bem. Eu acho que eu já vi a cara de vocês antes, hein?
Sim. Nós somos missionários, como o senhor lembra. Nós temos uma mensagem. Muito importante. Vai gostar.
Como vai? Tudo bem? Olha, eu estive pensando, sabe? E achei que não ficaria bem uma família religiosa como nós, recebemos as pessoas assim. Vocês desculpem, naquele dia eu estava meio aborrecido.
Sim.
Tá? Eu e minha esposa gostaríamos de ouvir realmente a mensagem de vocês.
Gostaria?
Gostaria. Por favor, pode entrar.
Vocês sabem, nós representamos a Igreja de Jesus Cristo dos Santos dos Últimos Dias. Jesus é a pedra angular desta igreja. Vamos ler uma escritura em Efésios 2, 19 e 20.
Assim que já não sois estrangeiros nem forasteiros, mas concidadãos dos santos e da família de Deus, edificados sobre o fundamento dos apóstolos e dos profetas, de que Jesus Cristo é a principal pedra da esquina.
Nosso propósito é ajudá-los a entender melhor o Salvador e sua igreja. Vamos ler mais uma escritura no livro de João, capítulo 1, versículos 1 a 3. A senhora pode ler.
João 1,
Versículos 1 a 3.
João 1, versículo 1 a 3.
No princípio era o Verbo, e o Verbo estava com Deus, e o Verbo era Deus. Ele estava no princípio com Deus. Todas as coisas foram feitas por Ele, e sem Ele nada do que foi feito se fez.
Exatamente. Muito bom, obrigado. O apóstolo João nos ensinou que Cristo vivia no princípio com Deus. Ele também nos ensinou que Cristo criou todas as coisas. Jesus Cristo foi designado por nosso Pai Celestial a criar o mundo. A Bíblia diz que Cristo criou todas as coisas. Vamos ler uma escritura em Hebreus 1, versículos 1 e 2. A senhora pode ler?
Versículo 1 e 2.
Sim.
Havendo Deus antigamente falado muitas vezes e de muitas maneiras aos pais pelos profetas, a nós falou-nos nestes últimos dias pelo Filho, a quem constituiu herdeiro de tudo, por quem fez também o mundo.
De acordo com esta escritura, quem criou o mundo?
Jesus Cristo.
Exatamente. Jesus Cristo. Vamos ler mais uma escritura no livro de Atos 2, versículos 36 a 38. O senhor pode ler? 36 a 38.
Saiba, pois, com certeza toda a casa de Israel, que a esse Jesus, a quem vós crucificastes, Deus o fez Senhor e Cristo. E ouvindo eles isto, compungiram-se em seu coração e perguntaram a Pedro e aos demais apóstolos: que faremos, varões e irmãos? E disse-lhes Pedro: arrependei-vos e cada um de vós seja batizado em nome de Jesus Cristo para perdão dos pecados e recebereis o dom do Espírito Santo.
Obrigado. O que esta escritura propõe ao Senhor? Hi, here I'm going to read another story for you. All right. He didn't like her. She was just too nice. Brad didn't like too nice. How could someone be so perfect? Especially someone from a different country, Brad thought. He remembered the first day. She arrived from Finland, leaving a loving Mormon family behind for a year and a half with a new unknown one named the Iversons. She came down the boarding ramp wide-eyed and looking bewildered like a sheep in a wolf's den. Right off, her features told the crowd at the gate that she was foreign, being marked with a fair complexion, sandy blonde hair, and blue eyes. She was definitely Finnish and beautiful. Hello, Marja, Brad's dad greeted her. Is that how you pronounce your name? She smiled. Her teeth were straight, Brad noticed. No, it is pronounced Maria. Brad's dad tried to repeat her name. Marja, Maria, Margia, and then he gave up saying, well, I'll get it in time. Anyway, I hope she doesn't tease me like you, Brad whispered to his sister Julie, and then smiled as he was introduced to the youngest. And yours, we're gonna go eat some beijao and mahos right now. That's beans and rice, right in this restaurant. It's only 2,000 cruzeros now, which is about 60 or 70 cents per episode, which means a meal. So we're gonna eat. Hi, here we are now. We're eating. We have beijao. Very good. This is the only thing we eat here. Beijao we have a little left. songs. I'm going to sing some with Elder Husband and Elder Austin and two other Americans. And Elder Victorino, he's the one on the camera. So if anything screws up, you know who to blame. All right, let's start out with Home El Pie or My Father. Home El Pie. Okay, it's called in Portuguese Pequena Vila de Belém, which is for little town of Bethlehem.
Very good. Candice. Yes. Jingle bell, não tem mais papel. Não faz mal, não faz mal.
Hi. Got another one of my stories for you. Okay, here we go. Where did everyone go? Brad wondered as he stopped his snowmobile on top of a small hill. He looked through his face mask around the clearing of trees that he was in. Just minutes ago, his family was jumping drifts and shooting rat tails in the snow with their snowmobiles in the same exact clearing. Brad didn't know that they were still playing, but at the same time all were hidden by trees at the edge of the clearing. He thought that they had left him. He continued on up the trail. Brad revved up the old Johnson snowmobile that he was on and began heading out towards the trail where it continued. He had a hard time finding the trail, but soon was on it. He thought that he was heading back to the cabin, but he wasn't. Soon the trail that he was on became smaller and smaller until it diminished into a one snowmobile width trail. It then appeared to Brad that he was not on the correct course. He stopped his snowmobile and looked around. The snow was deep there, too deep for him to try and turn around, because he knew that if he tried to turn around and head back, he might get stuck. And Brad was just too small to lift the heavy snowmobile out of a rut. Also, it might die on him. Brad was just too small to hold a tough starter rope with sufficient force. The sound of the idling motor rung in his ears as nothing more could be heard in that lonely forest. Some snow fell from a tree and made a depression in the powder below. He was lonely. He felt despair sinking in. Brad remembered a story once told to him by his brother David one night before going to bed. In bed, David told a story about an abominable snowman. A boy about his age had been lost in the woods. His parents had told him that if he ever got lost, he was to stay where he was. But the boy disobeyed when he was lost and wandered about looking for his parents. He looked and looked for them and found himself walking in circles. He then stopped to rest and heard something behind him. He looked around and he saw a big, giant, white monster, the abominable snowman. Brad couldn't remember how the story had ended because he had fallen asleep after that. But the thought of the abominable snowman was enough to get him going again. Besides, he thought, the man who made this trail had somewhere that he was going, maybe. About an hour after, he came to an ice-covered road. Driving down onto it, Brad noticed that it was beginning to get dark. He had already gotten lost in this same area the summer before while riding bikes with his foreign exchange sister, Maria. But this was a different situation, as the cold winter is dangerous in Idaho. Brad continued on, going down the road, saying a silent prayer in his mind, asking his Heavenly Father forgiveness for all the mean things that he had done to his family. Finally, a car came into Brad's view. Now, he had some idea where he was going to. He knew that the only road open to cars in that area would be the Max Inn Lodge Road. Now, Max Inn Lodge was closed in the winter, but from there, he knew how to get to the cabin. Brad stopped the car. "How far to Max Inn?" he asked as a small bearded man rolled down his window. "Well," the man said, scratching his head, "it's about 2 miles, but you're going the wrong way." "Oh," Brad said, "thanks a lot." The man said, driving away. He turned the snowmobile around, running from the throttle to the back of the sled several times to keep it running. Brad then rode it down the street as fast as he could to reach the cabin, where hopefully he thought his family would be waiting. After a long time, he reached the closed for the season Max Inn sign and the main highway. Trying to climb the side of the freeway in order to proceed further, the snowmobile spun out and sunk. Brad's worst fear had become reality. He was stuck. Without the help of his father, he knew that he would remain stuck. Though he tried and tried, he couldn't lift it out of the rut. He couldn't do it. At last the snowmobile died. It and Brad had run out of gas. There was nothing more to do but walk. So taking off his helmet, and gloves, he started down the empty highway. By and by, a huge Mack truck, semi-trailer truck, came near, stopped by Brad. A lady with 2 kids beside her opened the passenger door. Now Brad knew that he would never accept a ride from a stranger, so when the lady offered, he politely refused. But what could be dangerous about a lady and 2 kids, he thought. He quickly reconsidered and responded to the positive. Soon he was at Pond's Lodge, near the cabin, talking to the owner, old Dan Decker. Brad told him what had happened, and if any of his family came that way, to send them toward the cabin, because that was where he was going. Brad walked the rest of the way, following snowmobile trails to the cabin, and found it locked up, no one there. So he waited. About 15 minutes later, his brother arrived on a snowmobile. "Were you scared?" they all asked Brad afterwards. "Heck no," he responded, "but I'll..." That's about what it usually is like every morning as I wake up. Now I'd like to read to you another story based on truth. You might remember this experience as follows. Lake Powell was a dangerous place as is, with rocks jutting up out of nowhere and half-sunken logs floating 2 feet out of the water's surface. What was not needed was a giant storm, the night to return home to hit the Iverson family. This wasn't a forecast storm, as the family broke camp and went home at the end of another vacation. But it turned into being one of the big ones for which the lake is known for. The waves crashed against the little boat, sending it reeling from side to side. The storm had come up suddenly and unexpected, the way a lot do in Lake Powell. Rain poured onto the canvas top of the boat by the bucketfuls. Brad's dad at the wheel was cussing in his mild way at the lake as he strained to see through the soft window shield as floods of water poured down. "Julie," he said, "get back there and undo the zipper and look up front. I can't see where we're going." Brad sat on his mother's lap as his sister Julie started undoing the zipper on the back section of the canvas. Julie forced the zipper open only a little and then couldn't budge it further. "Kay!" Brad's dad yelled for assistance. "Kay, get back there and help your sister." "Kay!" Julie said. Brad's dad ordered again. Kay went and tried the zipper, and it came unzipped in one tug, and a gush of water poured into the boat, drenching both Kay and Julie. Brad was seated on his mother's lap, watching the whole ordeal. He wanted to laugh, but he knew the seriousness of the situation. Upon observance of his mother's face, She had fright on her face. It had taken some courage for her to have even come into the boat. And now she was braving through one of the most frightening times of her life. Her hand tightly clenched around the aluminum frame of the boat, of the top of the boat. Knuckles white. She said, "I think that we had better pray." Everybody in that boat said a prayer except Brad and his dad. Brad didn't because he wanted to see who wasn't praying. His dad didn't because that was in his nature at that time. Everyone else, Brad's mom, his two sisters, and his foreign exchange student sister, Maria, Hanula, all said their own little personal prayer. The waves started growing bigger and bigger. Brad's dad yelled back to Julie, "Where are we going?" Julie stuck her head out of the flap that had been opened. "Well," Brad's dad yelled back again, this time with an edge of fright to his voice. A first-timer for Brad's ears. "I can't see," Julie yelled back. She stuck her head back inside of the boat, and Kay took her place. "All I can see is water," Kay yelled over the crashing storm. She stuck her head back in. Brad's mom yelled, "Bob!" grabbing for his dad's shoulder and looking out the window. Everyone looked and saw that not more than 5 feet from the boat was a huge rock jutting out of the water's edge. "Look," Maria said, pointing at the other side of the boat. And they all looked, and there was another huge rock on the other side of the boat. Brad looked at his father and saw his head bow, and his mouth form the words, "My dear Heavenly Father," as he said a silent prayer. Never before had Brad seen his dad pray. He too bowed his head and asked his Heavenly Father forgiveness for the way he had treated his family, and for help in arriving home safely. Maria stood up through the open flap. "I see a light ahead, I think," she said. "Turn a little to the right." Brad's dad followed the directions. "That must be Bullfrog," he said, looking at Brad's mom. They both had tears in their eyes. Brad watched as Maria, with her keen eyesight, guided his dad to the Bullfrog boat ramp, where 20 men helped secure the boat onto his trailer. Brad slept most of the way home, remembering the great feeling that he had had.
I'd like to show you now some of the front of this chapel here and its beauty. Look, you see there's various plants here. Most of these trees around here are manga trees, they tell me. And here I'm going to show you our chapel right now. That's the front of our chapel. They're going to tear down our chapel here in the near future. And it'll be very sad, because it's such a beautiful and old chapel. There's the door that we exit every day. You see there. It's very noisy here. You can hear the traffic. And what do we have here? There you see. It's an empty mailbox. Does that give you any hints? All around this church. Here we are now at the side. There is a gazebo you see right there. A gazebo, or whatever you call it. That's where we study a lot of times, and I write letters from there very often. There are many trees around here, and it's a very beautiful sight. They have a dance here about once a month, and right there under that canopy you see right there is where they have the dance. There are lots and lots of Brazilian people there. Lots and lots of Brazilian girls. We call them snakes because every Brazilian girl loves the American missionaries. Right now they're using the gazebo to keep the clothes out of the rain. It rains here about 2 days out of every week. And so you can see that it's very rainy season here in the summertime. Except on the other 5 days it's very hot. Getting very high, past 100 degrees every day. Today, in fact, it's 110 degrees. A little house, very little. You see here, it is in the back of the church. And there, right there, is Brother Victorino and Elder Austin. Staying there, Victorino just loves to be a showman. Okay, and here's the back of the church you see right now. See the roof? I don't know what they make that out of. It's the same stuff we saw in Mexico. And he's seated there where he is so often studying. He wakes up about 4:45 every day and studies more while I sleep. He's the leader of the zone here in Moderator, and he works very hard. And he's a very good leader, one of the best I've seen. Elder, you have something to say to Mom and Dad at home?
Merry Christmas.
There you go, that's the best thing you could say, huh? Now in our lavanderia, or washing room, a lady comes here 2 days a week and she washes our clothes. And she hangs them out to dry and she launders them. There's the wash basins that she uses. She does everything by hand. Even though, right there, you see it, a washing machine. I don't think they know how to use them here in Brazil. Primary. Sounds like I'm in a cave, doesn't it? That's because it looks like a cave. These are where crianças or children come from years, I guess 4 to 12. They come here every day. When we have investigators, sometimes we will be seated in here too with our investigators. It's very loud in here because everything echoes, and so do the children. And he's our janitor here. He's a returned missionary, and he has found a job working here. He will soon leave because they are destroying this chapel, and he's got a new and better job. Ricardo, diga alguma coisa.
Hello, good friends. How are you?
Diga Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Obrigado. And last but most important, here's their chapel. As you see here, it is a very big chapel. But seeing as how they have over 500 people in this ward, they will be splitting it here at the end of the year. I haven't given a talk there, but I'm due up here next month. Hope I get a transfer.
This day I want me to fight or something like that. I told him that I don't know. They said he wasn't very tough, but he beat me up real bad. I don't want to fight him no more. I don't know. That's all.
Get your heads, I don't know heads being missing out of my corner, and get that bad look off your face before I knock it off. Go marching in, oh in the saints, go marching in. Oh, I want to be in that number. Come on now, eh? Oh, in the saints, go marching.
Hi, here we are. We're going to do some exercise for you now. This is what we're supposed to do every other day. I kind of follow around, but we're going to do some exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 30, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 25, 30. Weights are heavy. It takes a strong person to lift it. Well, anyway, the bar. Elder husband!
If you haven't ate lunch or dinner or something, here's our mission mascot. It's a cockroach. It's about the size of a pea. And that's a baby cockroach. Imagine what the big ones are like. They say we're not supposed to ride horses and cockroaches in the mission.
I was sitting here reading my magazine. Sometimes I don't know which to read. This is Rock in Rio. They're having a festival here. A rock festival. It's supposed to be the biggest one in the world. But I'll tell you what's more important. It's the work here of the missionary. That's got to be the biggest work in the world. I was reading here at section 4 of the Doctrine and Covenants. You probably have already read this, but I'd like to refresh your memories. Now behold, a marvelous work is about to come forth among the children of men. Therefore, O ye that embark in the service of God, see that ye serve him, all your heart, might, mind, and strength, that ye may stand blameless before God at the last day. Therefore, if ye have desires to serve God, ye are called to the work. For behold, the field is white, already to harvest. And lo, he that thrusteth in his sickle with his might, the same layeth up in store that he perisheth not, but bringeth salvation to his soul. And faith, hope, charity, and love, with an eye single to the glory of God, qualify him for the work. Remember faith, virtue, knowledge, temperance, patience, brotherly kindness, godliness, charity, humility, diligence. Ask, and ye shall receive. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Well, that's a good scripture there. I just hope I can live up to its expectations. Let me review a little bit with you about my mission here on this video cassette. So you can just sit back, eat some popcorn, and watch your son, or watch your brother, or watch BB. Let me talk first about the MTC. I remember the MTC, I went in there on April 26, 1984. I know that because, Mom, you just wrote me a letter saying that's when I went in. I had forgotten that date. But it really doesn't make much difference to me what date I went in. It's the fact that I went in. I remember my first week there and my feelings. My feelings were mixed because I had left a family and friends behind, many experiences, and a basis of life. That wasn't a good basis of life. I remember the first week I sat through all those boring orientations. I was, however, excited when I received a companion, Elder Zabriskie. I thought I'd get a real dud for a companion. There are a lot of duds out here as companions, but Zabriskie, he was really my kind of companion. He was a thinking companion. He really showed love, kindness. Those were his greatest qualities. But he had other great qualities. He was a positive elder. And he still is, here in Brazil. Is that where I am? Anyway, I had two other roommates, Elder Gunn and Elder Nilsson. They were both really cool too. Through that first week, I couldn't believe how fast they were forcing this Portuguese language upon us. We had a great pair of teachers, however, Elder Rix and Sister Luna. She left 2 weeks after. She was probably the most spiritual sister I've ever met. I remember my roommates always wanted me to go play basketball for that first week. Then finally, about the second week into the MTC, I said, okay, I'll go play basketball. I was never really a good player at basketball before that, but they helped me and they practiced with me, and we got to be good. We got to be a good team because our room was a team, and our district was a team. We were a team in everything we did. My companion, he became more friendly with me as time went on. We prayed together every night. That was really different for me, to pray together with someone every night. And I've now been doing it for, 7 months. And I remember we felt we lost the spirit through the MTC. We stayed up nights talking. Why? Why did we lose the spirit? What had changed? Then one night, I remember Zabriskie and I were seated praying. We prayed there for 2 hours that night, and we couldn't get the response that we wanted. We wanted to know why we didn't have the spirit. So I gave up. I said, okay, try again tomorrow. So I went to bed, still thinking, why? I asked myself a question. And I tried to fall asleep, but something awoke me. It was like somebody was inside the room, there with us. And I looked over to Zabriskie, and he goes, what is that, man? And I go, I don't know. And it felt like somebody was inside the room. But then I figured out what that feeling was. And that feeling was inside of me. And I knew that we hadn't lost the spirit. That the Lord was still on our side. And I hope He will continue on my side. About into the 6th week of the MTC, the day-to-day schedule got to me. We studied, 10 hours a day, waking up at 6, going to bed at 10:30, over and over. The only day I looked forward to was P-Day. I wanted to get out and teach the people. Then finally, it was time to go to Brazil. I remember that day at the airport. It was a fine day, a fine hot day. And it got me quite accustomed to Brazil. I remember leaving on the plane to Rio. I remember thinking of all the people I'd left behind in the country, the great country of America that I had left behind. Then there I was in Rio, without anybody that I knew. And then they shipped me off to a bus to Belo Horizonte. And Belo Horizonte was pretty much a learning place for me, a school. And I'm still in a school here. But during my time at Belo, they changed mission presidents on us. And I was kind of scared to see what what President Bangerter would be like. But he was really a nice president. He instilled some great rules and some great spirit-building things for us here. He instilled the think positive, hence the positivo attitude. Sometimes when we're going along on the streets here in Brazil, people will yell at us. I remember when I was here with Elder Forsyth, we were walking along the streets here in Rio. Some Brazilian kids kept yelling, "Re." I asked Elder Forsyth what that meant. He said that they were trying to say why, in order to impersonate Americans. Then an elder told me that the night before, that a Brazilian had yelled down the hall in the hotel that we stayed in, "Americans go home." I didn't hear it. I was sleeping. I don't know what that elder was doing at that time of night. It works both ways. We act positive when we have positive experiences. We act negative and the contrary. I remember the first girl I taught here in Brazil. I bore my testimony to her. That's all I could do, Portuguese. We ended up baptizing that girl, Jose Mary, and I just heard from Elder Zabriskie that the rest of her family is going to be baptized. That's really great. What I'd like to do right now, before the end of this tape, is tell you thank you for the
the foundation you instilled in me, all you at home, to tell you thank you for all the kind things you've told me throughout my life, and all the positive things that have built me up, that have made me the person that I am today, and that I'm here on a mission. Because I had a pretty rough life before, and I'm really thankful for being here, especially this time of year, Christmas. It makes you think back to many more Christmases of past. Because Christmas is always a happy time in my life. I remember one Christmas was when I was little. You might maybe remember this too. I woke up about 5 o'clock and I ran downstairs. And I guess you heard me because you came downstairs after. And he says, "Where are you going?" And I says, I gotta go fight a war. That was about the first Christmas I remember. That I was trying to think of an excuse, I think, for going down to see what the presents were really early. I told you I had to go fight a war. And I remember that thinking when I was a kid, this might sound funny, but I remember thinking that the war was on the other side of the Great Salt Lake, and on the other side of the Great Salt Lake was California. And that I had to sacrifice my Christmas to go fight this war. Because I guess when you're a little kid, you make up things in your mind, and then you act upon what you've already imagined. Imagination, I still feel, is a great thing, but there's reality to contend with too. And the reality of my life now is awesome. And I've built up a strong testimony while being here of this church and of the truthfulness of the gospel. I'd like to share with you now my testimony, but it's in Portuguese, so you'll have to fidget around for a little while. Então, eu gostaria de prestar meu testemunho pelas coisas que eu sei que são verdadeiras. Primeiro, eu sei esta igreja é verdadeira, que Joseph Smith, ele é profeta verdadeiro. Ele teve uma visão, realmente, a primeira visão de nosso Pai e de Jesus Cristo. E eu sei que Spencer W. King é um profeta de Deus nestes dias, que ele recebe revelação de Deus. E eu sei que minha vida como missionário é muito importante. E este trabalho é muito obrigado. Eu gostaria de dizer para vocês obrigado. Obrigado pelas coisas que vocês fizeram. Eu sei que o livro de Mormon é verdadeiro, porque muitas pessoas já entraram nesta igreja por causa do livro de Mormon, que realmente é um grande instrumento para ajudar pessoas a entrar nesta igreja, para ser batizado. E eu tenho grande amor pelo povo brasileiros que nos batizamos. E meu amor vai crescer, vai acrescentar cada vez que eu batizei, que eu batizo, que eu vou batizar. Eu gostaria de prestar meu testemunho para vocês, que nada mais é mais importante do que este trabalho aqui.
Eu não posso fazer nada melhor do que ficando aqui no Brasil por 24 meses como um missionário. O tempo está passando muito rápido. Mas eu via o passado e eu digo que o passado foi muito rápido, mas foi muito devagar também, porque eu já aprendi muitas coisas. Eu vou aprender mais coisas, porque eu tenho que. E eu gostaria de prestar meu testemunho para vocês, em nome de Jesus Cristo. Amém. One more thing. Merry Christmas.